and take a look at nature's crown jewels in Norrbotten County. Our 8 national parks, they are the finest we have, chosen to give plants and animals a sanctuary, and for people to enjoy. Spectacularly beautiful, dramatic, or peaceful places where we can learn more about the world we live in. A little over 100 years ago, Selma Lagerlöf, one of Sweden's famous writers, wrote The Wonderful Adventures of Nils. It is about Nils shrinking in size and getting to fly on the back of a goose throughout Sweden. It was a fantastic geography book for all of Sweden's school children, but it was also an early appeal for the protection of nature. At the end of the book, the leader goose bids farewell to Nils. She says, "If you have learned anything at all from us, you no longer think that humans should have the whole earth to themselves. Remember, you have a large country, and you can easily afford to leave a few islands, a few shallow lakes and swamps, a few desolate cliffs and remote forests to us poor creatures where we can be allowed to live in peace." Three years later, the Swedish government created our first national parks, 4 of them in Norrbotten County. Today, there are 8 parks in Norrbotten. Nowhere else in Sweden are there so many or such large national parks. Take a look at Norrbotten's national parks. It will be a trip through our most beautiful and valuable regions. And why not follow Selma Lagerlöf's imagination and see the landscape from above, and then, upon landing, explore the area close at hand. Let's start in Pieljekaise National Park. It is small and rather unknown, but it is well worth a visit for anyone wanting to explore mountain birch forests and low-lying mountains. We leave the highway and hike on King's Trail. Autumn is probably the most beautiful season, when the mountain birch and the moors turn yellow and red. And if you return in the early summer, you can enjoy the flowers of the birch forest areas. Isn't it a little bit of a miracle that the mountain moors, the harshest environment imaginable for a plant, is already full of flowers at the beginning of June? The Lapland bunting sings, and it is a delightful time in the mountains. All the mountain national parks are in Sami territory. Reindeer herding still goes on, but there are also traces from olden times. Traces of a campfire in the middle of the trail, like stones in a circle that was once the hearth of a Sami hut. We travel north and encounter the most dramatic landscape in the whole country, Sarek National Park. The mountains of Sarek are difficult to access without trails or cabins for hikers. Deep, rounded valleys cut through the lofty mountain massif. It's the land of the ptarmigan, a piece of the Arctic in our own country. There are more glaciers here than anywhere else in the mountain chain. They are drained by cloudy glacier streams, which when joining others eventually turn into rivers. The mightiest is the Rapa River. It transports enormous amounts of glacial silt. The silt deposits build the lush delta. This is where Sarek's large moose live. People can come quite close, especially in the fall, when the bulls are busy scraping off the velvet from their antlers, preparing for the mating season. At the same time, bears seek out the mountain moors to fatten up on the crowberry. With a bit of luck, a hiker might even catch sight of the timid and rare wolverine. The Sarek Mountains turn into the Stora Sjöfallet National Park farther to the north. The Luleå River Valley runs through the park with its majestic mountain primeval forests. Today, forests with old-growth trees and dead or dying trees, needed by many animals and plants, are scarce. To hold an eagle's nest, a pine tree needs to be several hundred years old. The white-tailed eagle hunts and fishes in the large lakes of the valley. The hiker can see traces of thousands of years of Sami life. Trapping pits for wild reindeer, storage pits for meat, places where huts were erected, and Sami settlements where even today the reindeer herders live when they are caring for the reindeer. The most impressive mountain is Akka. It has 13 peaks and 10 glaciers. We can imagine the forces in action for millions of years as the mountain range was formed, and throughout the Ice Age when the landscape was sculptured during a period of thousands of years. Despite the fact that it was a national park, the state built several large hydroelectric plants and reservoirs in the middle of the park. Later, the river was excluded from the national park. In 1962, as compensation for this encroachment, a new park was established west of Sarek. We travel there, to the Padjelanta National Park, with rolling, undulating mountains and several large lakes. Padjelanta means the upper land in Sami, and we do as the reindeer do and travel there during the summer. Here are the vast grazing lands for the large reindeer herds. The earth is rich in lime, so we encounter an enormous variety of mountain vegetation that demands it in abundance. Ever since Carl Linnaeus' expedition to this area, botanists have made their pilgrimages here. Alongside the brooks, the bluethroat sings, and in the marshes, the waders put on a concert in the midnight sun. After midsummer, families who are reindeer herders move here with their reindeer when the calf-marking roundups are held, one right after the other. This is not a wilderness area. For thousands of years, it has been the habitat of both reindeer and people. Together, they have created this open landscape. In 1996, Padjelanta as well as Sarek, Stora Sjöfallet, Muddus, and several nature reserves were named a World Heritage Area, Laponia. Nature preservation takes a new turn with the local Sami administration of this land. Sami life, past and present, is an important factor for UNESCO's naming Laponia a World Heritage Area, a heritage of both natural and cultural significance. Laponia also includes the reindeer winterland, Muddus. We travel there to its primeval forests and marshes. Swarms of waders find their way to the spacious marshes to mate in the light summer weeks. When Muddus was made a national park, it was to protect the whooper swan, which was on the verge of extinction and basically only made it here. That protection succeeded so well that whooper swans now mate throughout the whole country. At the same time, vast areas of old-growth forest were preserved. For thousands of years, forest fires have shaped the forest. This is natural for primeval forests, and everywhere we see traces of fire damage on the trunks of the pine trees. Here we meet the birds of the primeval forest, the hooting owls, the capercaillie's mating call in the early spring nights, or the curious Siberian jays which appear at the resting places. Onwards towards the mountains and farther north. On the slope leading to the Torneträsk Lake is the Abisko National Park. The Abisko stream has carved a canyon into the bedrock. The stream runs out into Torneträsk, forming an attractive delta. The area is known for its rich vegetation. If you climb the mountainside, with a bit of luck, you might run into the quiet dotterel. Abisko is the most visited of our national parks, close to the highway and to the railroad. Not too many miles from Abisko, but far from roads, is our most northerly national park, Vadvetjåkka. The few visitors who make it here can see Sweden's northernmost glacier and limestone caves, and also enjoy the rich flora and the numerous birds and mammals in the mountains. In the southern part, there is a large delta formed by glacial silt. If we follow the Torne River all the way down to the Bothnian Bay, we get to our newest established national park, Haparanda Skärgård National Park. A kingdom of sand, created from the sand which the Torne River carried with it from the glaciers and mountains all the way to the sea. The continual land uplift has raised Haparanda Sandskär and other islands and turned them into a young, growing archipelago. The wind adds to their creation. Swarms of seabirds enjoy the beaches. Meadows on the beach have typical Bothnian Bay flora. Some of the plants can only be found here. Sandskär Island is also a landscape shaped by people. Fishermen's cottages and a chapel reveal that for generations fishermen have fished herring here and hunted seal. Even today, the waters around the island are rich in seals. So here they are, 8 crown jewels of Norrbotten County. All of them offer the visitor breathtaking discovery expeditions, peaceful outings, or adventure. Some are off the beaten track and are more demanding. Others are easily accessible and friendly, just inviting you to step right in. Time and time again, we are reminded that unspoiled nature cannot be taken for granted. With the perspective of the flock of geese, we can discover other landscapes outside the national parks. Nevertheless, maybe our leader goose would still be quite pleased if she came back after 100 years. Not everything has gotten better for wild animals, but some things have. Today, Norrbotten County has 8 national parks and more than 300 nature reserves. For the good of animals and plants, and for our own sake too.